I spent $20,000 on records. How much money did I lose or not? My name is Chris Schlarb. I'm a producer and musician based in Long Beach, California. My wife, Adriana, and I run the studio, Big Ego. And about maybe a year and a half into running the studio, I had the idea of starting a record label. So what I wanted to talk about was the last 3 records we put out at the end of 2022. So we did 3 records, a total number of 2,000 vinyl records and 1,000 CDs. So this was for Psychic Temple Plays Music for Airports, which was a reissue. Psychic Temple Plays Planet Caravan, and the trio album from Mike Baggetta, Jim Keltner, and Mike Watt called Everywhere We Go. Those are the 3 vinyl releases. We did 2,000 total copies of those. And then we did 1,000 copies of the new Jeremiah Lloyd Harmon CD called Desert Canyon. Let me throw out some kind of important things. I'm going to oversimplify everything here. I'm not going to include what it costs to make a record. I'm talking about in the studio, like hiring musicians, getting it mastered, artwork. we're not even going to factor that stuff in. This is really just a kind of like nuts and bolts. I'm making a thing. How much does that thing cost me? The other thing is, this is not pop music that we're dealing with. All 3 of these vinyl releases are instrumental records. So that's one thing to consider. The other is we do everything via direct mail, so we don't have a distributor that we use. Normally, a larger record label and some small ones will have, boxes of records shipped directly to a distributor from the manufacturer. And then those copies go out to stores. You get a wholesale rate. So if you're selling a record for, let's say, unfortunately, $30, eventually you're going to get $15, maybe 4 months later. Okay. We don't do that. We sell directly to the customer through Bandcamp and through our website, bigegorecords.com. Okay, so let's get into it. How much was our invoice for? $15,200. That was for LPs, CDs. That was for a grand total of 3,000 units. We got 1,000 CDs, 2,000 records. Now, how much for mailers? We use a company called Whiplash, the V3, I believe. And as far as I know, those are the best mailers you can buy. But you have to pay for them. They're expensive. So those cost $900 because we bought 300 of them. So they're $3 a piece shipped. Okay, so that's Whiplash V3. Now let's go to shipping. This is USPS Media Mail and First Class International. We have a lot of international orders, and this is just this last batch. So keep in mind, this is not for the whole year. This is really just these last 3 records. USPS, $3,400. All right, so that's getting up there. I think that's probably somewhere around 19,000. Now, here is maybe the most controversial line item I'm going to put on here. It could be to somebody. It's the internet, after all. My wife and I packed every one of these orders and shipped them. We took over the live room at our studio. We put our digital scale and our tape dispenser and all the packing materials. We offloaded the freight pallets out of the back door, brought all the stuff in, started filling orders. Just my wife and I. Our friend Devin O'Brien came by to help. Our friend Alessandra came by to help, and we had our 2 little kids here most of the time. We've got a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old, and we don't have childcare. We put our son in the ISO booth to take his nap, and it worked somehow. He doesn't even take his naps at home. But anyway, so long story short, my wife and I figure that we worked about 30 hours apiece for 3 weeks. So 180 hours of work at minimum wage, $2,520, okay? And so we'll say that's labor. Now, the only reason that I say that this could be potentially controversial to someone is because I think that you could have an argument to say, well, this is your entrepreneurial endeavor and your labor shouldn't count. My counter argument to that would be, I don't know many people who are like producing the record, mixing the record, maybe even playing on the record, running the studio, cleaning the bathroom, and then mailing your record out at the very end. I mean, it's a pretty in a day and age where you've got a lot of like influencers and phony businesses being run by like a figurehead, and then they don't have anything to do with the product or the development. We're the exact opposite of that. It's literally like, we made this and now we're shipping it to you. Let's say that we had the facility to hire labor to do this instead of us. This is what it would have cost. Okay, $2,520. So total expenses come to $22,020. All right. Now let's go to the income side. So here's our sales from Bandcamp from July to December of 2022. So income, $15,300. That's Bandcamp. Okay. Now there's a separate amount that you can charge for shipping on Bandcamp. It can help show you if you're charging enough, which, spoiler alert, we were not. Which I just, as somebody who buys records, I just have a hard time charging people more and more. It's like you just want to get a couple records in the mail and not feel like you spent $100. So Bandcamp shipping total $3,300. Okay. Now through Big Ego Records, sales $825. Big Ego Records shipping $347. Income would be like just shy of 20 grand, right? We do have a little bit of an ace up our sleeve with the record label. Every year we do a Big Ego Record Club, and that is something where people subscribe and they get every release that we put out all year. So we had about $9,000 in total. So I'm going to cut that $9,000 in half. And what we've got is, this is on the income side, from Record Club folks, $4,600. Okay. So that adds up to $24,372. Or a total profit, let's see, of $2,352. So a couple of things here. Number one, this was an insane amount of work for $2,300. I've got about 250 copies of each of these records left on hand. I imagine that I'll sell through those in the next year or year and a half, 2 years. And when we do, that's almost another $19,000. So you could say that if you're patient and you wait a year, year and a half, we could ultimately double our money. Today, yes, we made a profit. We spent about 22 grand on records and shipping them and getting them out to fans. We made 24,000. So ultimately, our profit was 2 grand. But over the course of the next year or the life cycle of these records, if you make good art, if you make good records, they'll keep selling forever. I mean, we see that now, right? Like, so much of the vinyl market is flooded with reissues, you know? So it's like, if you create something that has value and is not just this, I don't know, this disposable thing, then ultimately you're betting on yourself. You know, I remember there's a great quote from George Duke. He said that Frank Zappa said, you know, always bet on yourself. You'll never cheat yourself. So in many ways that we're betting on ourselves, we're betting on the art that we're creating. Now, this is one part of how I make a living. I run the studio, I produce, I'm an artist. But I would also say that in this day and age in the music business, this is fairly, for me, impressive. We're creating music that we want to make, and we're getting it out to people directly. I think it also highlights how important for us the record club members are, because they're in some small part subsidizing more experimental and less known artists, because they're already purchasing, essentially pre-ordering the records before they even know who or what they're getting. And in this scenario, without the record club folks, we lose money. So anyhow, long story short, we made money a little bit today. Hopefully we'll make, you know, a bit more over the course of the next year. If you're interested in what we're doing, maybe check us out, bigegorecords.com. We've got the recording studio, which is musicfrombigego.com. And maybe become a record club member in 2023. Thanks so much. I'm Chris Schlarb. Take care.